Madam, we shall start.
Sir, can we start the event, sir?
Yes, madam.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to welcome you all to a two-day international online conference on exploring new trends in language, literature, and cultural studies, jointly organized by Department of English, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and Department of English, Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, Kanniyakumari. I thank all the dignitaries for joining us. Let us begin this day with Tamil Thai Varthu.
நீராரும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்த கெழிலொழுகும் சீராரும் பதனமென திகழ்வரது கண்டமிடு தெக்கனமும் மதிசிறந்த திராவிடர்கள் திருநாடும் தக்க சிந்த பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மனத்து இருந்த பெரும் தமிழத்தின் சீரிலும் வாழ்த்துதும் வாழ்த்துதும்
Thank you, girls. I now invite Dr. R. Sandhya Lakshmi, Head Department of English, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Buji. Good morning, all. Prayer is the key to success. I submit my prayer to God Almighty for the success of this conference. Seeking the blessings of our esteemed Chairman, Dr. Sethu Kumaran, respected Secretary Ma'am, Mrs. Kokilam Kumaran, I propose this welcome address on behalf of Soka Ikeda College and Vivekananda College. I extend my most cordial welcome to Mr. C. Rajan, Secretary, Vivekananda College, who was very supportive for this collaborative effort. I extend my cordial welcome to our President, Sir Jagannathan, sir. He is our guru, our motivator and mentor. I extend my heartiest welcome to you, sir. I welcome our advisor, Dr. P. Ranjitakani, ma'am. She is the former principal of the college and still motivating and supporting us in all our endeavors. Welcome, ma'am. Principals of both the colleges were instrumental in bringing us together. I extend most cordial welcome to Dr. Meera Murugeshan, Principal of Soka Ikeda College, and Dr. Rajashekar, Principal of Vivekananda College. I hearty welcome to both the principals. I extend my sincere welcome to Kanmani Subramaniam, Vice Principal of Soka Ikeda College. My hearty welcome to Mr. Magesh, IQAC Coordinator of Vivekananda College, whose sincere efforts have made this venture possible. My sincere and heartfelt welcome to Dr. Sumati, Head Department of English, Vivekananda College, who sowed the seed for this collaboration. It is because of her deliberation this is happening today. I extend my welcome to Dr. R. Sumati, Assistant Professor, Kongu Nadu Arts College, Coimbatore, who is the person, she is the backbone of this event, has been supporting us in every endeavor. My heartiest welcome to you, ma'am. I extend my welcome to all the participants for writing papers and being present today. I welcome all the faculty members of Soka Ikeda College as well as Vivekananda College for their enthusiastic presence. My sincere welcome to all the students. Welcome all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I invite Dr. K. Sumati, Associate Professor and Head Department of English, Vivekananda College, to deliver the inaugural address.
esteemed dignitaries on and off the stage and on and off the screen, distinguished resource persons from our country and abroad, eminent scholars and active participants from various parts of our country and other countries, my dear teaching as well as student community, a very good morning to all of you. I am so elated to deliver inaugural address on the auspicious occasion of Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Chennai, conducting a two-day international conference on exploring new trends in language, literature, and culture studies in collaboration with our college, that is Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, Kanniyakumari. First and foremost, I owe my gratitude and respect to Mr. C. Rajan, Secretary, Advocate K.S. Mani, President, and other executive members of Vivekananda Educational Society, our principal, Dr. C. Rajashekar, Dr. T.C. Magesh, IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Sethu Kumaran, Chairman, Dr. R. Jagannathan, President, Dr. Meera Murugesan, Principal, Dr. Kanmani Subramaniam, Vice Principal, Dr. Justin James, E-Learning Coordinator, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Nizwa, Sultanate of Oman, Dr. R. Sumati, Assistant Professor of English, Kongunad Arts and Science College, Coimbatore, Dr. Dibyesh Kumar B. Datt, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Gujarat, Vidyapith, Ahmedabad, and all other teaching faculty members of both the institutions and student communities of both the institutions. I am so happy to address you, especially the occasion which has made the conference all possible and successful. As for us, the title of the conference is concerned, it is quite apt and relevant to the pandemic as well as the post-pandemic challenges that we encountered earlier and the aftermath effects that we face even today. The whole universe unfortunately witnessed and confronted a severe setback of economic, social, political, and cultural achievements, in addition to facing the adverse effects on health, lifestyle, and environment in toto. What is so pathetic and deplorable is that there had been an incredible increase in the morbidity and the death rate. The countries that claimed themselves as superpower or developing countries were pushed down to the level of seeking monetary and medical assistance from other countries, on forgetting the political and administrative enmity that existed between them. Each country and each individual came forward to extend a helping hand to the needy, in addition to attempting efforts to mitigate the harmful effects of the disease that benumbed, paralyzed, and mutilated the majority of the human race. What is to be human was taught by literature to help us survive each trauma or such traumas that happened in the past. Literature, in which language as well as the cultural studies is an integral and inseparable part, imparts important insight by recording and reporting both the positive events that paved way for the relief and the worst incidents that curtailed the growth of the economy of the countries and their subjects, in addition to projecting the causes responsible for the sudden change in the climatic conditions, flora, fauna of nature, and the health conditions of the human society as a whole. I hope the purpose behind conducting such conferences would enable the elitists to contribute their valuable ideas and suggestions after exploring the crisis born out of pandemic, right from the literary contributions of Chaucer till today. Literature so far has offered a panoramic view of such critical situations so as to make us realize that the world today was shaped by the pandemics of the past and help us cope with these difficult days. Boccaccio's The Decameron of 1353 relates tales told by the refugees from the Black Death in the 14th century. Daniel Defoe's A Journal of Black Year of 1722 gives a literary and historical account of bubonic plague in 17th century London. Catherine Ann Potter's Pale Horse, Pale Rider of 1939 is a short story about the great flu pandemic of 1918 to 1919 by an author who survived such disease. I hope the conference would facilitate the scholars and the teaching faculty and the resource persons of the conference to share and converge their ideas to create the revolutionary as well as the positive changes in the human society that wishes to live in a world devoid of war, a moral and a spiritual vacuum, and which is filled with love, freedom, and harmony. A great salute to the elite gathered here in the conference, and the best wishes to the authors who are about to present their papers. Thank you so much for having given me this rarest opportunity. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. I invite Mrs. R. Shuganti, Assistant Professor of English, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, to present the dynamics of the conference.
Good morning, one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all from various parts of the world to this two-day international online conference on exploring new trends in language, literature, and culture studies, which is jointly organized by the Department of English, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Chennai, and the Department of English, Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, Kanniyakumari. The MOU has been signed between these two institutions on 19 October 2022, and this is the first program to start with. The conference focuses on assimilating the ideas of researchers, academicians, and students on the new trends, motifs, and ideologies in language, literature, and culture studies in the modern scenario. After the pandemic, there is a lot of changes and developments evident in each and every field. These changes are recorded in history through language and literature. The main aim of this conference is to change the knowledge of the scholars and is to enhance the knowledge of the scholars and the presenters, and through them, this conference will bring out all the new developments of the world in the new millennium. This conference will pave way for an in-depth understanding of the new avenues of research and motivate the scholars to advance their research studies. Yes, the presenters at the conference are going to discuss and highlight the key points and trends and uniquely share their influence, development, and comparison with the international standards in the same field. I thank the organizing committee for giving us such a platform to share our knowledge and research findings. I hope that the conference is open for further proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With due respect, I invite Dr. C. Rajashekar, Principal, Vivekananda College, to deliver the presidential address.
Distinguished resource persons, Dr. Justin James, e-learning coordinator, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, NISWA, Sultanate of Oman, Dr. R. Sumadi, Assistant Professor of English, Nadu Arts and Science College, Coimbatore, Dr. Diveskumar D. Pat, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Gujarat, Udyabad, Ahmedabad, and Dr. S. Rajadurai, Senior Lecturer in English, Department of English Language, Teaching, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka. Respected Secretary of Vivekananda Educational Society, Mr. Rajan. Respected President K.S. Mani, Vivekananda Educational Society, Dr. Sedu Kumaran, Chairman of Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science College for Women, respected President of Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, respected Principal of Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Dr. Meera Murugesan, respected Vice Principal of Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Dr. Kanmani Subramanian, Land Conveners of the seminar, Dr. K. Sumadi and Dr. Sandhya Lakshmi, beloved faculty members, research scholars and participants across the world, good morning one and all. I am privileged to preside over this international conference on exploring new trends in language, literature and culture studies, jointly organized by the Department of English, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women and the Department of English, Vivekananda College. I am happy to announce you that this conference is organized as a result of the MOU signed with Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Chennai. My happiness is boundless, witnessing the activities and the active involvement of the Department of English in dissemination of knowledge. English, though a recently emerged language, has grown as the most spoken foreign language in the world. It has attained this position because of its nature of inclusivity and the quality of adopting changes and upgrading itself. This should be a lesson for us to grow in our life and be successful. Earlier people translated the native literature into English, but then poets and authors started writing in English as they started thinking in English. Though English is no more colonial physically, it has been colonizing the minds of multitudes through its diversified literatures. I hope this conference brings in people of various capacities across the world to share their ideas on new trends in language, literature, and culture studies. Once again, appreciate and organizers, congratulate the organizing the team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Dr. R. Jagannathan, President, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science, to deliver the felicitation address.
Sir, your mic is muted, sir.
Is it audible now? Hello.
Sir, you are audible, sir. You are audible.
Yes. Good morning to one and all. I appreciate the keen interest shown by Mr. Rajan, the Secretary of Vivekananda College, Kanniyakumari, the President of the Vivekananda College, Kanniyakumari. I really appreciate the vision of our Chairman, Mr. Setu Kumaran, and Secretary Gogilam Kumaran, our advisor Rajadakani, our Principal Meera Murugesan, our Vice Principal Kanmani Madam, and the Principal of Vivekananda College, Mr. Raj Shekhar. And the collaborative two-day program organizing head, Madam Sandhya Lakshmi, Sumati Madam, and her team, and their counterparts in the organizing event at the Kanniyakumari College, are really very great. I'm very much impressed by this activity because the purpose of the language and also the culture is always to reflect what has been happened in the past in a sequential chronological way to the younger minds today in a palatable way. And culturally, the two institutions are great in the sense that we at Soka Ikeda College are trying to bridge between the cultures of India and Japan. And Kanniyakumari, we know, is culturally a very strong place in India. To the secretary and the officials of the Vivekananda College that we can enter into some MOU to do some projects because we have some 777 kilometer length of sea coast between our two institutions. And we have the Zoological Survey of India, which can sponsor if we can explore the flora and fauna of the sea coast. And also the tidal data collection will be of interest to the Atomic Energy Agency. So probably we can think of projects like that in the coming time. And as far as this today's event is concerned, I appreciate the interest and the dedication shown by our guest lecturers, the specialists, the experts that we have invited across the globe. And all these things are to the benefit of our student friends. And I request our student friends to get benefited, so inspired by these events. Thank you and wish you all the luck for every one of us. Thank you. Nice of you. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Meera Murugesan, Principal in Charge, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, to deliver the felicitation address.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are
Yes.
audible, ma'am.
Respected President of our college, Dr. Jagannathan sir, and respected Advisor Madam, Dr. Ranjita Kani, and respected President of Vivekananda College, Mr. Mani, and Secretary of Vivekananda College, Mr. C. Rajan, and Principal of Vivekananda College, Dr. C. Rajashekar, and IQAC Coordinator of Vivekananda College, Dr. Mahesh, and Vice Principal of our college, Dr. Kanmani, and Head Department of English of Vivekananda College, Dr. Sumati ma'am, and Head Department of English and IQAC Coordinator of our college, Dr. Sandhya Lakshmi, learned professors, distinguished resource persons, faculty members of both the institutions, participants of the conference, and student friends from both the institutions. A very happy morning and warm welcome to one and all. At the outset, I wish to record my gratitude to our college management members and the management members of Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, for this conference to happen. And my hearty appreciation to both the heads of the departments, Dr. Sandhya Lakshmi and Dr. Sumati ma'am, for their great efforts in making this conference possible. As the principal of the college, it's my pleasant privilege to share a few words of felicitation at this inauguration event. Before we kickstart the conference, I would like to express my sincere gratitude towards all who have sincerely contributed to this conference in order to make it success. I'm delighted to note that our college PG Department of English has partnered with English Department of Vivekananda College for further future endeavors. I'm grateful to all the eminent resource persons of this conference who are going to join us virtually throughout the nation and abroad. I'm also obliged to all the research scholars who have made it to the conference and would be presenting the papers and on varied topics of new trends in language, literature, and culture studies, which has been a key domain of today's research today's research topics among the researchers in English. I put up on record of appreciation to all the paper presenters, special invitees and participants from other districts and states. My special gratitude to our college management members, our chairman sir, secretary madam, president sir, and advisor madam for their wholehearted support. A special word of appreciation to both the English department staff members for the sincere efforts apart from the regular academic activities. This conference will creatively explore the new trends in language, literature, and culture studies and facilitate all the participants. My special wishes and prayers to the organizing team and the participants for this 2-day online international conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now invite Dr. T.C. Magesh, IQAC Coordinator and Assistant Professor of Zoology, Vivekananda College, to deliver the felicitation address.
Good morning, one and all. A 2-day international conference on exploring new trends in language, literature, and culture studies, jointly organized by Department of Zoology, Department of English, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Chennai, and Department of English, Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, Kanniyakumari. First of all, Dr. Sandhya Lakshmi, Dr. K. Sumadi, and Dr. Mr. R. Sugandhi, and Dr. C. Rajeshekar, Principal, Vivekananda College, Mr. C. Rajan, Secretary, Vivekananda College, Dr. Sethu Kumaran, Chairman, Soka Ikeda College, Dr. R. Jagannathan, Dr. Meera Murugesan, and Kanmani Subramaniam, and Advocate Mr. K.S. Mani, President Vivekananda Educational Society, Dr. A. Suresh, Dr. Justin James, and Dr. R. Sumadi, Dr. Divesh Kumar, and Dr. M. Sendil Kumar, and Dr. K. Kavirasu, and various department professors, students, and staff members. Again, good morning, one and all. I take this opportunity to express my wishes and congratulations to the Department of English, Vivekananda College, and Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Chennai, for jointly organizing a 2-day international conference on exploring new trends and language, literature, and culture studies. Language affords us the ability to interact and communicate. Literature gives us a preview of human experiences, allowing us to connect a basic levels of desire and emotion. Language and literature helps us to learn the behavior of the society and its cultural customs. Literature has been proven as a great tool to approach English language and culture. Language and literature have shaped civilizations, changed political systems, and exposed injustice. A particular culture points to the culture of a particular social group. Culture helps us to define who we are as a person or group of people. Language is intrinsic to the expression of culture. The title of the conference seems to make understand the tradition and culture in different landscape through the medium of English language and literature. I wish the conference success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I invite a college vice principal, Dr. Kanmani Subramaniam, Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, to deliver the felicitation address.
Good morning to all. Thank you for this opportunity. As language and literature are changing, reading contemporary literature is essential to see the linguistic richness of a culture. Reading makes a whole person. Seminars prepare a person. Writing makes a man good. In that sense, this seminar has provided an opportunity to read and write, and is a guide for everyone's progress. It is commendable that the English department of our college and the English department of Vivekananda College are working together to enrich the language and provide in-depth knowledge to the students and create interest in the students studying in this department. My heartiest congratulations to the Vivekananda College English department, our college English department, and to all those who participated and wrote papers in this seminar. Special thanks and best wishes to Dr. Sandhya Lakshmi Madam and Dr. Sumati Madam. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I invite Dr. A. Suresh, Assistant Professor of English, Vivekananda College, to propose vote of thanks.
Good morning, all. Thank you is a prayer that cannot be seen or touched. It must be felt. I feel honored and privileged to get the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion of the two-day international conference on new trends in language, literature, and culture studies. I would like to thank all the delegates who blessed us with their presence and words of felicitation. I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. C. Rajasekhar, Principal, Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, Kanniyakumari, for always guiding us to the desired destination named success. I thank you, sir. I am grateful to Dr. Meera Murugesan, Principal in charge, and Dr. Kanmani Subramaniam, Vice Principal of Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, who have extended their support and encouragement in organizing the conference. I thank you, madams. Next, I thank Dr. P. Ranjitakani, advisor of the conference, Soka Ikeda College, for her august presence. I thank you, madam. I take this occasion to thank our president, Advocate K.S. Mani sir, who has been always with us, encouraging us, guiding us. He has been a philosopher and a mentor. I thank you, sir, for your august presence. I also take this an opportunity to thank the Secretary of Vivekananda College, Mr. C. Rajan, who has been in a very busy schedule due to some unavoidable circumstances. He couldn't make his presence here, but he has also sent his words of congratulations to us. I thank him, sir, on behalf of Vivekananda College, students, faculty members, and the management of Soka Ikeda College and the faculties of Soka Ikeda College for Arts and Science. Next, I thank Dr. T.C. Mahesh sir, the coordinator of IKC, who is doing some tremendous works in our campus. And he has delivered felicitation, a word of congratulations and good wishes to us. I also thank Dr. T.C. Mahesh sir for his felicitation. Next, I thank Dr. Kanmani Subramaniam, Madam, the Vice Principal, also for her felicitation. It could be made possible, the program could be made possible because of the two heads of the departments of Vivekananda College and Soka Ikeda College. I thank my teacher, Dr. K. Sumati Madam, and I also thank the head of the department of Soka Ikeda College, Dr. Sandhya Lakshmi Madam, for their immense effort to organize this program. I also extend my sincere thanks to the special invitees who are going to speak the keynote address and the plenary sessions in this particular conference. Dr. Justin James, E-Learning Coordinator, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Oman. Dr. R. Sumati Madam, who is already a very known person to Vivekananda College, and she is in very close association with us all. And she is an assistant professor and head Kongunadu College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. Dr. Divyesh Kumar D. Bhatt, assistant professor, Department of English, Gujarat Vidyapeeth, Ahmedabad. They are going to share their ocean of knowledge with us all. I also thank all the research scholars, all the student participants, the supporting staff, faculty members of Vivekananda College and Soka Ikeda College, the management and everybody. I thank you one and all. Thank you.
It does. Thank you, sir. And I thank all the dignitaries who joined us for the inaugural function. And we are going for a 15 minutes break. Then we'll join again for the plenary session. Thank you all.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Give me a few seconds. I am getting ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hearty welcome to all the resource persons. Shall we start, sir?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Good noon, everybody. Welcome back, participants and respected resource persons. We go for the plenary session now. I invite Dr. A. Suresh, Assistant Professor of English, Vivekananda College, to introduce the chief guest of the day. Dr. Suresh. I invite Dr. A. Suresh, Assistant Professor of English, Vivekananda College, to introduce the chief guest.
Respected dignitaries of Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, Kanniyakumari, and the dignitaries of Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science for Women, Chennai, faculty members, research scholars, management, advisors, student participants, supporting staffs, and non-teaching staffs. I deem it my honor for having provided an opportunity to introduce the chief guest of the two-day international online conference on exploring new trends in language, literature, and culture studies, jointly organized by the Department of English, Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, Kanniyakumari. The special invitees, the special guests are here to provide us, to felicitate us, to enlighten us with keynote address and plenary talks. This is the plenary session. The first speaker of this session is going to be Dr. Justin James. He is going to deliver the keynote address and enlighten us all. Dr. Justin James is a faculty of English and e-learning coordinator at the University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Sultanate of Oman. He is an experienced English language and literature teacher with a doctoral degree in applied linguistics. He is skilled in teaching English as a foreign language and English as a second language. He has received a TESOL certificate from the American TESOL Institute, Tampa, Florida, USA. He is trained in using ICT for language teaching and holds a certificate awarded by Trinity College, London. Dr. Justin is an English language trainer, teacher, educator, ICT teacher trainer, and ELT consultant with a demonstrated history of working in the education and education management industry. As a language trainer, he has additional experience training students for English language proficiency tests like TOEFL and IELTS and other examinations. As an ELT consultant, Dr. Justin has trained, advised, and developed materials for English language professionals working in schools, colleges, and academies. Besides, he is an international resource person for colleges and universities in India, conducting workshops and delivering plenary talks at conferences and webinars. Dr. Justin has many international publications to his credit. He has received several awards, including the Best Teacher Award and Best Researcher Award. He has carried out projects funded by the Research Council of Women, Government of the Sultanate of Oman. In addition, he is a designated foreign examiner for PhD research in ELT and English literature for Bharatiyar University, Periyar University, Vellore Institute of Technology, Gandhigram Rural Deemed University, the University of Madras, and Amirda Vishwa Vidyapeetham. He is going here to deliver his keynote address. He has a very good profile that almost goes for about 18 pages here. But as we are lacking time, I stop with this. And I welcome you, sir, to enlighten all the participants with your keynote address. Next, it's my duty to welcome Dr. Thank you, sir. I hand the session over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, very good morning to all of you gathered.
Thank you, sir. I invite Dr. Justin James, e-learning coordinator, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Niswa, Oman, to deliver the keynote address on how can graduate students develop essential writing skills using online learning resources.
Sir, you can start, sir.
Yes, we can start.
Yes.
Shall I share the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kaviyarasu, sir. Okay, sir.
I think that's okay. I think the screen is visible now.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
So at the outset, I'm very happy to be here today. And I'm all the more happy because this is the first time I got an opportunity to present from my own home district. So thank you for the organizers for the invitation. I thank Dr. Sumati Padmanabhan for recommending me to be invited as one of the keynote speakers of this conference. I also thank Dr. Sandhya for corresponding with me and discussing the formalities and inviting me to be here today. So this is my topic. Right. How can graduate students develop essential writing skills using online learning resources? As you all know, the importance of writing, especially writing in English, without which you cannot be successful in academics. What I mean by academics is not only in English language and literature, but also in all other subjects. One need to have enough ability to express one's own idea in clear language, both in writing and speaking. Writing is all the more important because in academics, most of our transactions or communications takes place in writing. Now, before going into the presentation proper, I would like to analyze why there is a need for using e-resources in order to enhance our writing abilities. The first and foremost reason is our country has maximum number of educational institutions. When you compare with other countries, I think we have maximum number of educational institutions providing higher education. And most of the higher education institutions have courses starting from undergraduates up to PhD as well as postdoctoral levels. In all these courses, the mainstay is writing. So once you are good in writing, you can be very successful in completing the course. Therefore, it is important to enhance our writing. Now, why I chose this topic today? Because as I am a foreign examiner, I come across many doctoral dissertations from different universities. And I sometimes feel pain to see the kind of language, the kind of presentation that is used in this dissertation. I feel there is a strong need for improving writing abilities of our students, our graduates, our research scholars, when it comes to presenting their ideas, research outcomes, so on. So it is important to know how to write, how to present your ideas in a very appealing way, so that your research is accepted for publication. Your research is accepted for the award of degree without any difficulties. I'll start with giving you an example. Please go through this paragraph. I'm currently reading a thesis on eco-psychology from one of our universities. This is one paragraph. While reading it last week, I copied this paragraph and I was trying to figure out what exactly is communicated in this paragraph. So let me read it. Numerous significant works of writing. The book can be persuaded on a few levels as an imaginative, quick, delectable story, brimming with rich portrayals and sublime comic animation-like characters. Yet in addition, as a more profound investigation of the tenderness of familial misconception, the strange of legend love, actually it is, the word should be string, the string of legend love, the capriciousness of corporate greed, and the inadequacy of managerial framework. Desai's utilization of Indian jargon, analogies, symbolisms, and before long are very powerful with regards to her accountability. It should have been one word. This is a recent fad where she unquestionably gets famous Hindi words and lustful words from Bengali to strengthen the English language with abnormality and oddity. Also in the worldwide multi-social local area, these new words are worthy in living discourse and composing. Could you please, anyone, tell me what exactly is the meaning of this paragraph? What the research scholar is communicating? You can switch on your microphone and talk, or you can give your observations here in the chat box. Do you think this paragraph communicates with clarity? Any idea? Look at the first sentence, how many words, how long it is. Do you see any connection between the first sentence, second sentence, third sentence, And there is some connection between the third and the fourth sentence. Of course, this is a literature thesis. Literature thesis is not, like another attempt at creativity. It is ambiguous and loosely connected, yes. And there is no clarity in meaning. So I come across many paragraphs like this, sometimes many pages and pages of materials like this. I find it very difficult, being an Indian, if I find it so difficult to decipher something out of this, what do you think will be the condition of a foreign examiner, a native speaker, an American, South African, or a British, or an Australian professor going through this work? So, reading such materials, I felt there is a great need for encouraging our graduates to learn good writing skills before they go in for their post-graduation or research level studies. Let us move on. So writing in English, it is very important because all our higher education is through the medium of English, and some attempts are made today to provide higher education in Hindi, and even Tamil Nadu is trying to come out with a medical syllabus that is written in Tamil, the course materials. I wish them great success. But for all practical purposes and employment needs, we need to learn English. So how to enhance your writing? First part, I'll discuss some important ideas. Then I move on to e-resources and try to demonstrate how these can help us in enhancing our writing. So reading is a receptive skill, writing is a productive skill. So it is very important to read. Read as much as you can. And also reading will help you to enhance vocabulary, grammar, sentence structure, and show many different ways to communicate ideas. When you read different authors, it will help you to understand different writing styles, how they present the ideas, what are the methods they follow in writing. All these things will help us to enhance our writing. Example, so if you need to describe a house, if you read a description which is already written, which is already there in books or magazines or on internet, and you will be able to plan the description of your house in a better way. Similarly, if you are writing a description of a person, if you read the biography already written by someone, you will have a better idea to describe it. One basic reason for this is we are all visual learners. What we see, we can learn and imitate. So 75% of our brain cells are attuned to visual learning or visual observation. And through our ability to see things, we see and understand and reproduce. So the next point is how you can present your ideas. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. So make your writing, make your presentation very simple and straight. This is what Albert Einstein recommended. So before you start writing, take a moment to mentally explain the concept to a 6-year-old who lives inside your head. So you attune your mind in such a way that you are a 6-year-old kid trying to understand very simple day-to-day concepts. So if you keep your writing very simple, it is easy to communicate. So if your writing goal is to achieve a specific result, ask yourself what that result should be before you dive into writing. Have a clear purpose, then stick to it. Of course, writing a PhD thesis, we have a goal of completing the degree and getting a job. Other than that, what your thesis is going to contribute to the volume of knowledge. What is the purpose? How this study is going to impact teaching, learning of that subject, how it is going to impact or promote further research. One should have a clear idea of these things before you go for writing your dissertation or your research paper. Anticipate your readers' questions. So this is another thing. One is you should have something to say. At the same time, you should know who is going to listen to you or who is going to read. Audience analysis. So of course, we are writing a thesis or a research article to get published and get the credit for it. At the same time, it is an extension of knowledge. And someone in some part of the world would be reading it and it should be beneficial to him. So having an idea about your audience is also very important. Next is grammar. So when it comes to grammar, you don't need to study grammar separately, but you can go through some of the materials that have grammar lessons. I shall show you a video here, which is available on YouTube, which talks about how you can use grammar in your writing.
Sir, audio is not, you're not able to hear, sir.
You're not able to hear the audio?
Yes, sir.
Give me a second, let me check. Okay, give me a minute.
No, sir.
I'm changing the presentation from this one to another machine. Give me a second.
Okay, sir.
Sir, it's audible.
Hello and welcome to today's English lesson. My name is.
It's audible, sir. It's audible.
Right. Give me a second. I'll just move the machine. Right.
In English. Let's go to the intro. Now, as I said, today's lesson is looking at discourse markers, and in particular, discourse markers that we use when we want to change the subject or the topic when we're speaking, let's say. And of course, discourse markers, you probably know, are used when we want to segment our speech or writing, okay? When we want to break up long pieces of speech and writing.
This is an example of how, am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. How grammar is integrated in writing. So such lessons are very good when it comes to understanding grammar in usage. Let us move on. And you know, you need not take screenshots and things like that. What I have planned is that after I complete the presentation, I shall make a PDF format of this presentation with all the links and share it with the organizers. They will share it with you. So I think that will be fine. So next important thing is writing an outline. So even if you are writing a paragraph, if you have a kind of outline in your mind, and if you are writing an outline, then you are moving towards writing. It would greatly help you to enhance your writing. Your paragraph will be very effective. So there are different ways of writing outlines, and you can check this on internet or from the books, and whichever works for you, you can select. Next, learning to organize a paragraph. So each paragraph, the general rule is that you discuss one idea, expand it, explain it, then give additional information about that particular paragraph, and finally finish the paragraph with a conclusion. Have a look at this paragraph. This is a perfect paragraph I have taken from one of our textbooks, Pathways, prepared by National Geographic Channel. We are using Pathways textbook for our students. So this is about animal behavior, cooperation versus conflict is the title for this particular discussion. Okay, so look at this paragraph. First sentence is a topic sentence. People often have the perception that the animal world is full of conflict. So it is a general perception that all animals all the time fight. Okay, so actually the idea is that the author wants to give an alternate idea, a positive idea. This is the kind of negative perception people have. So look at the next sentence. However, there is a transition signal used there. While conflict and aggression are normal primate behavior, animal, another word is used, primate. They actually play a more limited social role in the wild than cooperation. So conflict is much less, but cooperation is more. Now the author is going on explaining his observation. In fact, according to Conniff, both primates, Conniff is a scientist, both primates and humans are essentially social creatures. They thrive in groups and are normally cooperative and helpful. Within their own group, people generally live in harmony and offer each other support. Similarly, chimpanzees live cooperatively and normally try to avoid conflict.
They typically spend their days caring for their young and traveling together in small groups. So this is an explanation for his observation that primates' behavior is not always conflict, but cooperation. Then he is giving examples. Connie points out that chimps, despite having a reputation of being aggressive, only spend about 5% of the day displaying antagonistic behaviors. In contrast, they spend much more time, 15 to 20% of the day, grooming each other. So this is examples to support the claim. They are supporting the argument, supporting the claim, and there is a conclusion. For humans and primates, conflict is infrequent, does not last long. Even if there is a conflict, it does not last long. For both species, cooperation is more effective way to succeed and survive. So this is a very good paragraph. So this paragraph has got one idea. That idea is contrasted, and why the explanation is given why the author is contrasting. He is giving examples and he is concluding with a concluding statement. Now look at this paragraph, which I showed in the beginning. How many ideas are discussed? Every sentence brings in new idea. And the very first sentence has got many things there. Not even a single thing included there is explained. There are no examples. There is no clarity in the argument. And every sentence is jumping from one idea to another. So you can see the difference, isn't it? How our writing is not very effective when it comes to communicating the ideas. So therefore, it is important to know how to structure a paragraph, and we shouldn't discuss more than one idea in a paragraph. Then you should explain it and give enough information to support the claim and also conclude with a very good conclusion. Now look at the content of the thesis I referred. Overview of Canadian Indian literature, evolution of eco-psychology, ecological crisis, emotional bond with nature, nature the restorer, conclusion, nature the penna of life. Now, from page number 1 to 48, there is no side heading. 49 to 90, no side heading. So it is a running statements of paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. And finally, when I come to finish this, I will have no idea what I have read from the beginning till the end. I hope you can see it. There is some trouble with the internet. So this is a content page of another thesis I evaluated last month. Look at how beautifully the topic is divided. Yeah, is it visible now?
Yes,
Some-
sir, it's visible,
Yeah,
sir.
some internet trouble. I don't know, it is from my side or your side. Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
look at the chapter divisions. Well defined, well presented. So while reading, you can go back and forth, refer whatever you need to. If you want to verify something again, you can do it. And how the thesis is concluded, conclusion afterward works, consulted, and extra materials for the better understanding of the thesis, and also appendix and list of publications. So this is a very good thesis. It has some problems like not, connecting it with literature. It is a video-based or media-based thesis submitted to an English department. So they didn't find proper connection, how this is connected to understanding of literature or understanding of language, and also, topic for further research and pedagogical implications for learning the language or literature wasn't there. But for that, it is a highly commendable thesis. So you see the difference. Both are literature thesis, how one is different from the other. It is important to present things in a proper way so that you don't get negative reports from the foreign examiners, and they ask you to revise your thesis and resubmit, and it will be a lot of trouble doing that. Next thing is checking your spelling before and after writing. So spelling mistakes are unacceptable. I showed one spelling mistake or, kind of different word in that particular paragraph. So that will give a poor opinion of the researcher and his or her language abilities. And make your writing more conversational. This is one important point. John Grisham is a fiction writer. There are 3 types of words. Words we know, words we should know, words nobody knows. Forget those in the 3rd category and use restraint with those in the 2nd. Now, what do we do? So a couple of months back, I read a thesis. Every 3rd sentence, there will be a strange word. The researcher has particularly picked these words and inserted in between sentences just to show off that that particular scholar knows better English than the people who are reading it. So mostly this is happening in Indian scenario. We go in for strange words. So forget those in the 3rd category and use restraint with those in the 2nd. So what you have to, the kind of words you are going to use in your thesis should be words we know. And words we should know, maybe a few of them, but you cannot use any strange words. And we are not editors working for the Hindu newspaper. So even British people cannot understand what is written in Hindu newspaper. Some of the articles are very difficult. I have shared it with some of my colleagues, and they really are shocked to see the kind of English written there. So I'm not finding fault with that. Making it difficult for people to understand what is written there. Keep your sentences simple. So again, most of the great writers, they keep their writing very simple and straightforward. So write very simple. Don't write very long sentences, and vary the length of the sentences then and there, and that will give you a nice flow for your writing. Finally, read it aloud. So before finalizing your final draft, read how the thing you have written is flowing while you read. So if you find any difficulty, if you are stumbling while you read, please change the words and do some editing work. Finally, practice, practice, and practice. That will help you to present a very good written document in academic writing. Give me a second. Okay, back. Now look at this. Academic writing infrastructures. Description, process, causes and effects, comparison and contrast, division and classification, argumentative and discussion essays, agree and disagree, definition, extended definition. So a graduate student should have learned all these writing infrastructures by the time he graduates. I mean, undergraduate students. And for your research guides, it is important that you insist your research scholars are good at writing these infrastructures. First 6 months of their research should be concentrated on this. And you don't need to teach these things to them. You can give internet resources, e-resources, ask them to refer it to it, write a couple of essays on each infrastructure, go through them, give them correct kind of advice to improve, then proceed with your research. Because, you know, like sometimes they compare two authors. One chapter they write about the first author, another chapter write about the second author, third chapter is conclusion. So there is no discussion on similarities and differences of how these two authors are similar or how they are different. That should be the mainstay discussion of the thesis when you compare two authors or two cultures or discussing literature from two countries. Simply presenting ideas doesn't work well. So your thesis will not be given a good grade. Sometimes your thesis will get rejected. Now writing paragraph, this is one resource. There are millions and millions of resources available on the net. And with a little bit of idea and idea and ability to browse through, you can very easily gather enough materials to share it with your students, and graduate students also learn it by themselves.
This is Sana. When I first met Sana, she told me about how she was failing the IELTS test. And in just 1 month of prep.
Hi, welcome again to inkvid.com. I'm Adam. Today's lesson is about the paragraph. It's a writing lesson. And I want to show people what a paragraph is and how to construct one, what to do, what not to do, so you can write very clear, very tight paragraphs. This is especially important for IELTS, TOEFL, SAT students, but everybody has to follow the exact same rules. Now, before I even begin, I must say that I'm talking mostly about academic writing or even business writing. Creative writing, like novels or short stories, anything fiction, you can do anything you want. Only always remember, somebody has to read what you wrote. So it has to be clear. But academic essays, for example, certain rules you have to follow. You have to be very careful about them. So let's begin. In terms of like the actual way a paragraph looks, apples, go to oranges, go to bananas, and then end up with monkeys in space is a bit of a problem. The reader has no idea what you're talking about. One paragraph, one central idea. Now, make sure that you tell the reader what this central idea is. This is your thesis statement, okay? It's a very general sentence. All it does is introduce the topic of the paragraph, nothing else. All the details come after. So, speaking of,
So I'm skipping that for want of time. As I told you, I'll share these links with you so you can go through these videos at leisure and find out whether it is useful for you. If it is useful for you, please go ahead and use them. This is another e-resource where you can train your students in writing, learn how to write an argumentative essay. So here everything is given in detail. What is an argumentative essay? Format and structure, how to write one, and explore different argumentative essay topics. So what are the other infrastructures you can include in this particular writing? This is a process paragraph, how to write a process. Why it is important to learn process? Because when you learn how to write a process, you will understand how to present things step by step, one step after the other. And this will also help you a lot in writing your research papers. So there will be a kind of clear organization and order in your writing. So please have a look at it. I'm just giving a sample of everything.
Hi, it's Wendy from Worldwide Speak. It tells the reader what to do, and then you explain. And last, you have the conclusion sentence, and that restates your topic. And
these lessons are very good. These are self-learning materials, self-explanatory. You listen to the video, watch the video for a couple of times, and then take a topic, try writing a process or whatever infrastructure you have learned from the video. It will be very interesting to write, and you'll be motivated a lot because, on the one hand, if you don't understand how to write, what to write, and how to present ideas, it is very difficult to write. Writing is a very challenging exercise. So it is important to know what you are writing. This is a topic for an argumentative essay. In this video, they explained how you can develop your arguments. Big salary is much more important than a job satisfaction. Do you agree or disagree? So these kind of essays will, indirectly train our brain in analyzing the things which we are things that we are reading for our research. And not only for research, even our students will have the ability to understand and analyze the subject materials they learn from different angles. So a kind of critical thinking, higher order thinking abilities can be enhanced through these videos. Then when it comes to the use of passive voice, it is important to know how one can use passive voice in writing. Not only, because in many places when we write our thesis, we need to use this.
hello, I'm Emma from English. You can use the passive to change the focus of your sentence. So let's go back a moment. To understand the passive voice, I should really first explain the active voice, but you already know it. It looks like this. The children ate the cake. Subject, verb, doing the action. You can completely remove the former subject from your sentence.
Grammarly makes communication at work one click simpler.
So techniques of expanding definition. So writing expanded definition or extended definition of terms also very important. This will help if you are doing a PhD on theoretical subjects, how you will understand the theory, expand the theory, explain it to the audience. I'm skipping this. Then these are some of the sample essays students write, here, and we correct them. So when they write, they make a lot of mistakes, and we correct them and teach them. One thing I found is that our students here are very good at understanding the format, because they are taught this writing infrastructure in a very systematic way, right from the foundation, first semester foundation level. But the problem is Arab students find it difficult to use content materials much, because of the kind of climatic conditions they live. They don't see much vegetation, much of the things we see in India. So therefore, they have kind of restricted vocabulary. Other than that, they understand the format. The problem is just opposite in India. We know a lot of things, but we don't know the format or the methodology of writing. Then plagiarism, how to avoid plagiarism. Even when you write a paragraph, nowadays, in online education, everything you submit is automatically checked. If you are using Moodle learning management systems in your college or university, so whatever you submit, it is automatically checked for similarities. So plagiarism check is done immediately. If you have 20% or more, then it is a problem for your essays are rejected. Now look at the kind of plagiarism I got from one of the theses from one of our universities, 73%. And the university plagiarism check showed 7%, or Kunda, something they use in our universities, but it is 10 times much higher than, that, okay? So if we systematically learn to write, definitely we can avoid plagiarism. The basic reason why people go for copying is that they don't know how to write. So if you know how to write, naturally need not depend on others. You can read, assimilate, and produce your own materials. Then after editing, it is 27%. And so in order to avoid plagiarism and write a good thesis or research paper, you need these two things, summarizing and paraphrasing. So I think Indian students need to do a lot of work on this, summarizing. Paragraph after paragraph they write. Sometimes they harp on the same idea in many paragraphs, inconclusive, and it is very difficult. And sometimes they copy it as it is, and they don't know how to summarize or paraphrase. Paraphrasing is just, writing in our own words, understanding something that will help you to avoid similarity. So make it our own. So something important. Then there are many web resources that will help us to learn how to paraphrase.
Hi, I'm John McDonald. I'm an editor and trainer in academia for Editage. At Editage, we often receive questions from authors seeking our advice on how to check for plagiarism before submitting a paper for publication. Most often, the papers of these authors have either been rejected or returned with a request for major revisions on account of having 20% or more of plagiarized content. Many times, it's because non-English speaking authors have difficulty paraphrasing or summarizing scientific literature into their own words. Paraphrasing is rewriting content from the source material into your own words.
So for doing that, you should have good language abilities, isn't it? So you should be able to read, understand, assimilate, and reproduce in your own words. So that training you get, we can provide that training to our research scholars and our students only when we give exercise in paraphrasing in their post content. Then revising and editing. So this is one great challenge. This is a sample from the first chapter, first line. There were many mistakes. So we can go in for editing a thesis using the editor option in Microsoft 365. All the Microsoft Word, the latest one comes with the editor option. You can check with the revision review, go to the review here, then select the editor option. You can click on editor. It will show you the score of that particular piece of writing, how many spelling errors are there, how many grammar errors are there, and punctuations, conciseness. All these things will help you to, very easily you can correct all the spelling mistakes. You need not spend a pie on accessing online resources like Grammarly. It is a paid software, or give it to another person and to pay a lot and do a bad work. So finally, you are responsible for whatever they spoil also. So this is one. Then I'm going to show you how editing softwares like Grammarly can help you. So Grammarly is a paid software if institutions buy. And one problem with Grammarly is that any AI activated softwares, you become addicted to it. And over time, you forget your language. So therefore, Grammarly can be used right from the very first word you write, but I would advise never do that. You do the writing separately, and if at all you are using Grammarly, you edit it later after completing your writing. So that would be nice. Otherwise, you'll forget your language, and every time even you write a WhatsApp message, now I do that because I have the I have Grammarly subscription and I have installed it in my mobile. Even for writing a WhatsApp message, I get immediate suggestions from that. And over time, I am afraid that if I keep this away and start writing, I may struggle to write. So this is a situation you will get addicted to it. So whenever you use these kind of softwares, please be aware that there is every possibility of you getting into trouble. Okay, so and these are the conclusion is that, if you want to write, if you are planning to go for higher education, there are plenty of materials available on the net. And we as teachers, it is our duty to hunt for these materials, organize them, and share it with our students, our research scholars, and right from the very first day, insist that they learn this by themselves. Of course, with our guidance, it will be easy for them to become good writers. And when it comes to publication, and another important thing is I had some bad experience when I went to submit my thesis with regards to publication. And publication is a billion-dollar industry now. People have to shell out thousands and thousands of rupees. I went to the university with 2 papers, mandatory papers published, one in Web of Science Journal and another in Scopus. And the research director said, no, you should come with the papers on UGC care list at journals. And unfortunately, the journals I published, their names were not included in the UGC care list at that time. So this director was adamant that I published. Then I asked a friend to help me. He suggested another person. When I called that person said they can get a paper published for 50,000 rupees. And so it was around 1 lakh demand was there. But what I did was I somehow learned the name of that particular journal, wrote to the editor, is it possible for me to get this published on your journal? It's very urgent. He wrote me back saying that if you pay 5,000 rupees each, I can get it published. The name of the journal was Adalia. I got it published within 24 hours, 2 papers, and I paid 10,000. The person who got 50,000 each was also referring to the same journal. Now you know the difference, how much, 45,000 rupees commission for publishing 1 paper. So without breaking a sweat, a person would make 45,000 rupees, without doing any work. So then finally I was lucky. I just wrote then I came and submitted. The director was very happy that he made me walk up and down. And finally I submitted. And that month I published the paper in that particular journal. There was 170 papers from India. It was a multidisciplinary paper, 170 into 5,000. And I was watching that journal for about 18 months before it was identified as a cloned journal and removed from UGC list. So 18 months, 170 to 200 papers into 5,000, and how much money other brokers would make in between, how many millions they would be making from that. So therefore, it is important that we publish, at the same time important that we do not shell out our money. So therefore, it is important to learn. It is easy to learn. 6 months time, if you work on learning this infrastructure, you will become a very good writer. And if you sincerely work for 6 months and you can't write, please come to me. You can blame it on me. I assure you 100% that you'll be able to write better articles and you will love writing. So this is my conclusion. So therefore, don't waste your hard-earned money. Just work for 6 months. And I strongly recommend that research guides, please take some effort, make your research scholars learn these infrastructures, make them good at writing in the very first 6 months of writing, and you will have the rest of the research time, you will have a peaceful time. Otherwise, you will have a very, very difficult time with these scholars completing their research. These are some of the references I have used, and I shall share these things with you. And some of the books are very expensive, so you can ask your librarian to buy it. You can borrow them and use it. So thank you very much. So if you have any questions or observations, shall I stop sharing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Participants, you can share your comments in the box. You can message.
Are they not allowed to unmute?
No, sir, they can do.
Yeah, if
can
they have any
unmute and they can
observations
speak.
here.
You can unmute and you can speak if you want. If there is any question.
And you can share your experience of guiding this research and what are the challenges you have. So if you have any questions. Thank you, Anis. Very informative session. Okay, thank you.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Sir? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Kavi.
Yes.
Sir, really happy to hear your wonderful session. And it is more informative also, of course. Sir, I just was ruminating over a thought that because of this AI integrated or AI assisted software packages and bots in education system, I am afraid that in the near future, there will be no scope for human beings to become better teachers, and these bots and other devices will become teachers. So I just want your response and reaction towards this.
Yes, it's a very delicate situation, and your observation is a very, very important one. We need to ponder on that. One way, I can discuss this with another approach. And today, if any student coming to the university with the aim of learning English and spending money, paying huge fee to learn English, or going to any institute, paying a lot of money to learn English, I would say it is a stupid idea. You don't need to go to any institute or anywhere to learn English. You need to have a smartphone, and from YouTube alone or other websites like BBC English or Voice of America podcasts, you can learn English, and you can learn all the infrastructures. You can become a better writer, better speaker, better listener, better reader. Having said that, academics, why do we learn English? Because English is the tool, basic tool that helps you to understand any content subject. So leave alone literature and learning for quite some time, if it is physics, chemistry, or any other subject, computer science. Even if you are learning artificial intelligence, you need English. So therefore, it is important to learn academic English in academic institutions. It's a very systematic learning of that language. You need teachers to help. But there is, of course, a challenge that over time, this AI integrated softwares may overtake us. Possibilities are there, but there's every possibility, and we cannot be complacent about it and say that, okay, after me, let there be a deluge. So once I get my pension, so whatever happens doesn't matter. You cannot be like that. So you have to be prepared, and you should work hard and try to understand the modern technology, most recent technologies, and try to enhance your abilities to get accommodated, adjusted, adapted. Your adaptability should be enhanced so that you can be a very successful teacher. So if you do not work with technology, it is going to be difficult. And another challenge is that after 5-6 years or even 10 years, I don't think students would be using pencil or pen to write. So it is only the keyboard. And you know, the same experience we had today. I find it difficult to write a sentence physically with a pen on a paper because of the online experience last 2 years. I never had a chance to write. So my writing becomes very clumsy. So the same thing is happening among young people. And maybe we forget the ability to write. What we need is keyboard. So this is also another challenge. So we must get ready for that and prepare our students for these future challenges.
Yes, sir, you're right. Yes, sir. Because recently I just had a conversation with one of my students who is doing his PhD in IIT here in India, and he is working on natural language processing, and he is integrating AI in this NLP, and his thesis is all about creating a software using artificial intelligence that you just give the text of any literary work. It will analyze the text and it will come out with a beautiful analysis of that in whatever perspective you want. If you want in a post-colonial perspective, it will give a kind of a thesis or a dissertation in that form. So in that case, definitely it is going to be a challenge for us to compete with these machines. So that's something which bothered me, and just I thought of sharing with you. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. One should be bothered about it. So, it should annoy you. Then only you'll come out with some solution.
Annoy the Kabir, so I believe. Sir, thank you, sir. I'm Dr. Sumati from Nadu Arts and Science College. It was really a great lecture, sir. We feel so great listening to your lecture. In fact, you have reinvigorated our whole practice, I would say, the total practice outlook of learning English, and especially while handling this language in classroom, that too as a, as a foreign language in Indian classroom. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We have learned a lot from you.
Yeah, one more thing I need to tell you, why I used a lot of materials from native speakers. It is because, 20 years before, if we were using materials from India, prepared by Indian teachers, it is okay. Today, we have to prepare our students to work in multinationals, whether they are working from India or whether they are going out. They have to interact with people from different parts of the world. And it is justified that you have to use a lot of materials from native speakers in your classroom. Most of the time when I teach grammar, I use these videos and give worksheet to our students. Instead of me wasting my time and my energy shouting and trying to explain. There are enough number of materials available, videos available that can be used in our classroom. Only thing is we have to, our leisure time, we can prepare, use, watch these videos and get ready. And if you have any, what shall I say, kind of negative attitudes towards using native speakers materials, try learning Tamil from Chinese, using Chinese videos prepared by a Chinese person. Then you will understand the difficulty. Okay, so always it's better to learn that language from native speakers. And we are not, we are second to none. Of course, we are better than them in grammar, writing, and things like that. But for our students to communicate well, to communicate effectively in the international scenario and be very successful in their professional and personal life, they need to get exposed to these native speakers and the lessons prepared by them. Okay, then. Thank you. Thank you, Kumari, for the comment that, thank you very much for the good words.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. The presentation was truly worthy. You really motivated us to give more and more knowledge and work hard in our respective fields. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Justin James, sir, for enlightening all the listeners with your valuable information and clearing the doubts and setting a standard in the international conference. Now it is going to be plenary session, talk number 2. The resource person is Dr. R. Sumati, Assistant Professor of English, Nadu Arts and Science College, Coimbatore. She has a close association with Vivekananda College. Formerly, we conducted a jointly organized international conference with the Nadu College of Arts and Science. She is a well-known person in Vivekananda College and all around Coimbatore. The speaker is going to share her knowledge with us. She is a renowned personality and she has already provided lots of knowledge to the students of Vivekananda College. Our resource person was awarded a doctoral degree in December 2009 by Gandhigram Rural Institute. Her PhD dissertation topic is Royal Bildungsroman in Indian English Fiction. She has successfully guided 10 research scholars and 4 scholars are currently pursuing research under her guidance. She has a vast teaching experience of 25 years. She has also published 60 research papers and she has also 15 books to her credit. I hand over the session to Dr. R. Sumati, madam. Thank you.
I would like to invite Dr. R. Sumati, Assistant Professor of English, Nadu Arts and Science College, Coimbatore, to deliver a speech on Royal Bildungsroman in Indian English Fiction.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for kind introduction from one of my friends. Thank you so much. Shall I start, ma'am? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You are. We can see your screen, ma'am. PPT also visible.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Respected members of the management of Soka Ikeda College of Arts and Science, respected members of management of Vivekananda College, Agasteeswaram, Kanniyakumari, all the members of the Department of English of both the colleges, the chief organizers, Dr. R. Suganthi, and my friend, Dr. K. Sumati ma'am, who's always been our influencer, not only for her students, but also for many teachers as well. An effective teacher, selfless teacher, I would say. And all my professor friends in both the colleges, research scholars, and students. Good afternoon all. So let me start my lecture by analyzing the origin and growth of Indian English fiction. The genesis of Indian English fiction can be traced to the Bengali writer Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, who in 1864 wrote his first novel Raj Mohan's Wife in English. And after this maiden effort, Bankim switched over to his native Bengali. But these Bengali novels were translated into English and so became available to a pan-Indian reading public. Through these works, Bankim taught other Indian writers what came to be the art of Indian English fiction, mainly characterized by Indian thoughts, experience, and ethos, expressed through the Western, particularly English method of fictional expression. Bankim was a master of romantic novels and the historical novel and an excellent storyteller whose principal creed was a national self-respect. As such, Bankim became the literary dictator of Bengal, and thanks to the translations of his work of the whole of India. Bankim's reputation was overshadowed the novels of several writers like Rajalakshmi Devi, Torudat, Kali Krishna Lagiri, and Khetrapal Chakravarti. So the next notable novelist in India was Rabindranath Tagore, whose Chokabali was published in 1902 and was translated as Vinodini by Krishna Kripalini later. Sharat Chandra Chatterjee wrote several novels in Bengali, which were later translated into English. Vibhuti Bhushan's Panther Panchali in 1929 marks another landmark in the development of Indian fiction, though it was translated into English only in 1968. The original Indian English novels started appearing in the first decade of the 20th century, and they include Ramesh Chandra Dutt's The Slave Girl of Agra in 1909, Sir Yogendra Singh's Roshinara in 1909, and S.K. Ghosh, The Prince of Destiny in 1909, and S. Mitra's Tinduboot in 1909. So in the next decade appeared T. Ramakrishna's The Died for Death and Sir Yogendra Singh's Nazaran in 1950. So these novels point to a gradual development of Indian nationalism. During the 30s, with the rise of Indian nationalism, K.S. Venkataramani wrote two nationalist novels, namely Murugan the Thriller and Kandan the Patriot, while A.S.P. Iyer wrote an allegorical historical novel, Balavidya, in 1930. With the full flowering of Indian nationalism, a new crop of Indian English novelists appeared. Mulkraj Anand wrote powerful novels of protest against the British Rajya on the one hand and capitalist exploitation on the other. Motivated by anger and pity, his novels make an undisguised plea for social change, exposing the distress of lower classes through their social realism. His early novels such as Untouchable, Coolie, and Two Leaves Under portray the destruction of human victim by an inhuman socio-economic system and exploitative alien rule. His Punjabi trilogy, consisting of The Village, Across the Blackwater, and The Sword of Sickle, continued with the theme of exploitation. Rajaram's allegorical and nationalist novel Kantapura portrayed the native Swaraj and Satyagraha in the struggle against the alien British rule using a mythological, religious, and cultural framework, and celebrating Ahimsa, the spinning wheel, and agriculture. Rajaram successfully made the South Indian village of Kantapura a microcosm of India during the day of Indian nationalism. R.K. Narayan was not a great nationalist writer, but his works were essentially native Indian creations. His Swami and Friends, Bachelor of Arts, The Dark Room could have been written only by an Indian. So having established a narrative technique and a style of his own, Narayan continued with the stories of middle class Indian domestic life in novels like The English Teacher, Mr. Sambat, his Waiting for Mahatma, and especially his Waiting for Mahatma is a rare foray into a nationalist agenda. The Guide, The Man-Eaters of Malgudi, and The Sweet Vendors have ensured Narayan's reputation as an ironic and humorous writer. Mulkraj Anand and the Rajaram has continued to write, but they are best remembered for their early novels. The one exception may be Rajaram's The Serpent and the Rope, wherein he attempts to explain India to the outside world, but with to be a success. Ma'am, is it okay?
Ma'am, your audio is not very clear, ma'am.
Audio?
Audio is little weak, ma'am.
Is it okay, ma'am, now?
Ah, yes, ma'am. Yes, yes. We can see the screen also, ma'am.
Ma'am, is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is okay, ma'am.
You want
Ma'am,
me to repeat again or else shall continue?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You can continue, ma'am. You can continue, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay. So the Royal Buildings Roman in Indian English literature has a unique feature. I think I have to switch off this. The Royal Buildings Roman is a German term referring to a novel of formation, novel of education, novel of upbringing. The subject of such novels is the development of protagonist's mind and character as he passes from childhood through varied experiences into maturity. Usually a spiritual crisis bring out a recognition of his identity and role in the world. More often than not, a Buildings Roman is also a Kunstel Roman, that is an artist novel that represents the development of a novelist or other artist into a stage of maturity in which he recognizes his artistic destiny and achieves mastery of his artistic craft. It is not necessary that the protagonist should be male. Charles Bronte's protagonist in Jane Eyre is a girl, and so in Geeta Mehta's protagonist in Raj. So these two novels, beside Charles Dickens' Great Expectation, Mark Twain's The Prince and the Pauper, and James Joyce's The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, are excellent examples of Buildings Roman. The Royal Buildings Roman in Indian English literature has certain unique feature because it is Indian and because it is laid in Indian royal household. Any growing boy in any traditional Indian household has a unique perspective on the world, life, and his duties and responsibilities. His manner of upbringing too is unique. So more so in the case of a royal child, the household of royal India observed strict parda system, and as such, not much was recorded or known of the early years of Indian princelings. So any novelist attempting an Indian English Buildings Roman necessarily has to exercise keen historical imagination to tell the story of the princelings in the novel. In most Indian royal households, the women and the little children were confined to the harem, where no man was ever admitted other than father or husband. The Indian princelings were generally suckled by wet nurses who were withdrawn after a certain stage, and the Indian royal tradition of a multiplicity of wives resulted in a complex web of sibling relationship. And this was further complicated by the distinction between the children of royal wives and those of royal concubines. And since the later were all the issues of morganatic compacts. Such a paradigm inevitably led to rivalries and conspiracies, and some of them murderous. The several queens of monarchs sometimes did not hesitate to plot against the children of fellow queens, and many were the Indian monarchs who were held to ransom by one or more of their queens over the succession of the throne. King Dasaratha and Queen Kaigeyi are the classical example of this. So not all Indian princes were born of monarchs. Indian history in monarchs who had a male issue despite a levy of, who had no male issues despite a levy of queens, or so resorted to an age-old practice of adoption, not only to ensure the availability of a successor, but also to carry out the funeral rites required to set their souls free upon their death. Such adoption princes were often the envy of royal uncles who had lost the claim to the throne of the issueless monarchs. The fact that the majority of Indian English royal buildings Roman are related to British India accounts for another of their unique feature, namely the pathetic condition of which issueless monarchs were driven by Lord Dalhousie's The Doctrine of Lapse. Such monarchs were completely at the mercy of their British resident and other British officials. For their part, the British, in order to ensure a stream of puppet native rulers, caught Indian princes young, isolated them from their Indian ethos, shaped their mind to suit British imperial domination, and turned them into a free brown Englishman rather than Indian princes. So the rare and few princes who escaped their imperial dragnet were regarded as enemies by the British Empire. So all these affected the growth and development of Indian princes, as evidenced by several Indian English royal buildings roman. So it may be averred that the Indian English royal buildings roman does have unique feature. So India was for long known as land of Rajas and Ranis, and royalty played an important part in the history of Indian from the days of yore to the days of Indian freedom struggle. So quite naturally, many Indian writers have turned to royalty for fictional themes. Indian English literature now has a substantial body of fiction presenting historical personages who ruled various kingdoms, big and small. However, the corpus of Indian English historical fiction, when compared to the other kinds, is lean. The reason for this paucity can be traced to the Indian mindset that A.S.P. Iyer, acknowledged as the father of Indian English historical fiction, maintains that Indians have always lacked historical consciousness because of their temperament, cultural ethos, and spiritual ideals. Firstly, the ancient Hindus never attached much importance to the political events, wars, and conquests. They considered to be far less important than philosophical discussions. A new thought interested the ancient Hindus more than a new conquest. So not that wars and conquest were in any way wanting in ancient Hindu history. The vast majority of the men who really counted the thinkers worried little about these. And secondly, the old Hindu kings confined their wars and warriors and never molested the priests, poets, philosophers, astronomers, physicians, grammarians, and farmers, especially the farmers. So the normal life of the country was not disturbed seriously by wars. Thirdly, the political heroes left no permanent work behind. The empires founded by Chandragupta Maurya, Samudragupta lasted for a few decades. But what were decades in India's calculation of time by yugas and kalpas? Right. Then fourthly, India had a very high ideal even from the dawn of her history. Measured by that ideal, her historical heroes were found to be wanting. Ancient India's great mind struck to their ideal and scorned to record the achievements of these petty heroes or cherish their memories. The conquest of the three worlds was a famous ideal with them, and sometime it became even the conquest of the 14 worlds. So what were the conquests of Chandragupta Maurya and Samudragupta compared to these conquests? We have a magic stories in our past. So another reason for the paucity of historical novels in India, in Indian English literature especially, as M.A. Jayaraju states in his unpublished thesis, Indo-Anglican Historical Fiction, a Critical Assessment, is historical accounts of Indian events by British writers were generally partial, and in the case of more recent events, deliberately restorative. And to the British Empire builders and their historians, any Indian who balked their grand imperialistic design was a villain and monster, and maligning them was their patriotic duty. As Indian nationalism struck root and developed and spread, Indian English writers sought to inculcate nationalistic fervor in the hearts of Indians. For they needed to go back to India's past to draw lessons from the present. However, they could not write historical novels because the British authored historical records of the usable past were incongruous dissertation, and the British caricatures of India's great heroes had produced only schizophrenics. So Indian English novelists went back to ancient ages, legends and folklore, and wrote historical romances like T. Ramakrishna's Badmini, an Indian romance in 1903, which permitted them enough license to entertain as well as educate their readers without falling foul of British laws. It was only in 1930, the first Indian English historical novel namely I.S. Baladitya, a historical romance of ancient India, appeared. Several Indian English novels have appeared since then. The focus in these novels is generally on the protagonist, who is invariably a ruler, and the preferred mode is biographical. So much so, the novels are generally named after the protagonist. The writing of such historical novel, however, poses a problem for the historical novelist. History offers data on public doing of historical personages. Information on their private doing are scarce and carry very little authentication. So it is a challenge for the novelist to reconstruct the private life of the historical personages by using a historical imagination. The Indian English historical novels thus produced include I.S. Baladitya and Chanakya and Chandragupta, Vimla Raina's Ambapali, T.N. Murari's Taj, a story of Mughal India, Jyoti Jaffna's Noor Jahan, a historical novel, Bhagwan S. Gidwani's The Sword of Tipu Sultan, Manohar Malgonkar's The Devil's Wind, Nana Sahib's story, and G.D. Koshala's The Last Mughal, covering the ancient, the Muslim, and the British period of Indian history. The few novels I mentioned here. So there are also minor historical novels like Shekhana Dasgupta's Razia, the People's Queen, I.S. The Legend Thunder Past, S. Gopalan's Old Tanjore, and historical novel, Basavaraj Nayakar's The Sun Behind the Cloud, and Todingam Suresh Singh's The Prince and the Rose. One interesting aspect of these recreation of the past personages is the tracing of their upbringing or grooming for a historical role, and they came to play in later life. This aspect is crucial, and since it is widely acknowledged that the child is the father of man. The early background of the historical personages, that education and training they underwent, must have influenced their character and personality, and thereby their future content. Hence, the present lecture interest in bringing up the royal protagonist of Indian English novels, so that I've collected few royal characters, royal protagonists, so that I can talk about Royal Williams Roman. Avram Filchman, in the English historical novel Walter Scott to Virginia Woolf, says that the historical novelist as a recoverer of what actually happened. That occupies the same ground as the historians. In the idea of history, R.G. Collingwood explicates the resemblance between the historian and the novelist thus. Each of them makes it his business to construct a picture which is partly a narrative of events, partly a description of situations, exhibition of motives, analysis of characters. Each aims at making his picture a coherent whole where every character and every situation is so bound up with the rest that this character in this situation cannot but act in this way. And we cannot imagine his acting otherwise. The novel and the story must both of them make sense. Nothing is admissible in either except what is necessary. And the judge of this necessity is in both cases the imagination. So both the novel and the story are self-explanatory, self-justifying. The product of an autonomous or self-authorizing activity, and in both the cases, this activity is prior imagination. So Collingwood goes on to point out where the historians' work and the novelists differ. So where they do differ is that the historian's picture is meant to be true. The novelist has a single task only, to construct a coherent picture and one that makes sense. The historian has a double task, that he has to do this and to construct a picture of things as they really were and of events that really happened. So Filchman explicates these differences from the historical novelist artistic point of view. Both the novelist and the historians fills the gap in the received data with imaginative threads. The historian tries to add sufficient points so that only one thread of hypothesis can fill the space between. The better historical novels fill in the threads where there is room for alternative hypothesis. The novelist goes a bit farther than the inferential necessary, and some of the threads which he fills, the web of historical knowledge, are inserted from the discrete data to be linked. We might compare the historical novelist to the restorer of a damaged tapestry who weaves in holes, sense or figures to fill the empty places which a more austere museum curator must leave bare. So William Henry Hudson, in an introduction to the study of literature, suggests that historical novelist has to do more than the historian because he has to bring creative imagination to bear upon the dry facts of the analyst and antiquarian and to evoke a picture having the fullness and unity of the work of art. Since says, to satisfy at once the claims of history and the claims of art. To do this, the historical novelist requires a keen historical sense, which, as T.S. Eliot in Tradition and Individual Talent says, involves a perception not only of the pastness of the past, but of its presence, and in a sense of a timeless as well as of a temporal, and the timeless and of temporal together. So the historical sense is crucial to a composition of a Bildungsroman. Given the nature of the genre, in a glossary of literary terms, M.H. Abrams defines the Bildungsroman as a German term signifying a novel of formation, a novel of education, and says, the subject of these novels in the development of a protagonist's mind and character as he passes from childhood through varied experiences, and usually through a spiritual crisis, into maturity and the recognition of his identity and the role of the world. In a dictionary of literary terms, J.A. Cudon says that the Bildungsroman describes a novel which is an account of a youthful development of a hero or heroine. In New Encyclopedia Britannica, Micropedia defines the Bildungsroman thus: Bildungsroman, a class of novel developed in German literature that deals with the formative years of an individual upon his arrival as a man's estate and responsible place in society. The traditional tale of folklore dunce who goes out into the world seeking adventure and learns wisdom and hard way was raised to literary heights. The Bildungsroman ends on a positive note, though it may be tempered by resignation and nostalgia. If the grandiose dream of hero's youth are over, or so many foolish mistakes and painful disappointments, and the life of usefulness lies ahead. Since the publication of Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe in 1719, English novelists have exhibited a partiality for the biographical, particularly the journey from childhood to adulthood. Such novel belong to the Bildungsroman genre. The term was first used to refer to Goethe's novel Weltmeisters Lehengiert in 1794. Several literature have adopted the Bildungsroman and produced excellent specimens of genre. So English literature is rich in Bildungsroman, and some of the well-known examples are James Joyce's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, Henry Fielding's Tom Jones, Charles Dickens' David Copperfield and Great Expectation, D.H. Lawrence, Sons and Lovers, Sunset Mom of Human Bondage. And some well-known examples from American literature are Mark Twain's The Adventure of Huckleberry Finn, S.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye, and Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. The specific themes dealt with Bildungsroman are coming of age and apprentice, identity and the self and journey of life, of love, and search for the meaning of life. Very often the protagonist sets out a physical or metaphorical journey, wisdom from the experience and route, and returns to his original place. The American Bildungsroman is usually a combination of German Bildungsroman and Spanish picaresque. For example, Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. And in English Bildungsroman, the protagonist is a poor, often orphan type, a boy who undergoes education and develops into a gentleman. Since Indians have partiality for biographical narratives, the Bildungsroman is quite common in Indian English literature. For instance, all the later novels of Kamala Markandeya are Bildungsroman. And most Indian English historical novels are also Bildungsroman narratives. Let me throw some light on the historical novels in Indian writing in English. In Vimala Raina's Ambapali, Ajatshatu, the son of Samrat Bhim Bazar of Magadh, is carefully groomed to succeed his father as a ruler of the great empire, overcoming the major part of Bharatavarsha. And in the process, his counselor Vasukar does not hesitate even to play the son against the father. Ambapali, the foundling, is brought up in the palace of Raj Chetak of Vaishali, almost like a princess, and becomes the Gandharva wife of Ajatshatu, the sheer opposite of Vaishali. But as a Vaishalian, denounces him first, and after becoming a devotee of Lord Buddha, renounces Ajatshatu categorically, while her young son by Ajatshatu, already a Buddhist, innocently renounces the crown of Magadh when Ajatshatu offered his crown to him as alms. So both renunciation resulting from the tutelage of Buddha here in this novel. It's a beautiful novel. It's Vimala Raina's Ambapali. So I recommend the professors and the research scholars, if time permits, you please go through this novel, Vimala Raina's Ambapali. So according to Iyer's Chanakya and Chandragupta, Prince Chandragupta Maurya is one man fourth world state living in disguise in Magadha. The only surviving member of princely Maurya clan after the entire clan was treacherously killed by the usurping Navanandas. He is identified by the great scholar Chanakya and groomed to become a king and the deliverer of Magadha from the clutches of Nandas. So Chanakya tutors him in winning back Aryavarta from the Nandas and in beating back the mercenary hordes of Macedonian adventurer Alexander. So ultimately, Chanakya guides him to the throne of Magadha in order to establish a Ram Rajya, governed by the principle enunciated in his Arthasastra. According to Dasgupta Razia, the people's queen, Razia is an important ruler whose reign was a milestone in the evolution of Indian governance. Daughter of Sultan Iltutmish of Delhi, she is brought up specifically to succeed her father of the throne of Delhi. She becomes the ruler, but the period and the people are not ready for her. So again, she fails. In Murari's Taj, the crown prince Khurram of Mughal dynasty is trained to succeed his father Jahangir, given the context in which he lived, military power and leadership were more important than anything else. It is this training that enabled him to capture the throne upon the death of his own father in an ambience governed by the strat choice. Taktiya and Takta, that is throne or coffin, in defiance of machination of his stepmother Nur Jahan. In Bhagwan Gidwani's The Sword of Tipu Sultan, the bringing up of Tipu Sultan, the first son of Hyder Ali Khan of Mysore, is a classic exercise of in education of a royal offspring. Tipu's early upbringing influences him significantly and account for his unique governance and rule over the kingdom of Mysore against the backdrop of imperialistic designs of British colonizers. In Malgonka's The Devil's Twin, Dondupan Nana Sahib, the adopted son of Bajirao II, the last Peshwa, never gets to rule a kingdom but earns historical notoriety as an arch villain of the British Empire during the first Indian War of Independence in 1857. Belittled by the British imperialist as a Sepoy mutiny, he is brought up as a prince and he is expected to succeed his adoptive father, but the infamous doctrine of lapse promulgated by Dalhousie deprives him of the throne. However, his upbringing gives the lie to the British persistence in projecting him as a butcher of Kanpur and helps to rehabilitate a great nationalist hero. So all these historical personages are presented in the historical novels based on the scanty data available in the historical records and the local legends. After the East India Company became colonizing power in India, the rulers and their offsprings become virtual prisoners in their palaces, and the upbringing of the young princes of royal households became the prerogative of the colonizers. So this is not highlighted in the historical records for a simple reason that there were no great kings or princes in royal India during the colonial period. However, the general pattern of their upbringing aimed to emasculating of a royal princes of India and turning them into an abject British puppet. And it is unpublished thesis post-colonial reading of plantation novel in Indian English literature, S. Tirunavukarasu states, Manohar Malkonkar's novel, The Princess, Kamala Markandaya's novel, The Golden Honeycomb, Geeta Mehta's novel, The Raj. So between them capture comprehensively the British imperialistic strategy of subverting the princess of Royal India. The son of native ruler was taught by the British tutors, picked up by the British resident, sent to a school chosen by the British resident, then sent to Chef's College administered by an Englishman, taught to lose gracefully, the generally brought up as a brown Englishman. So the Viceroy's approval of the succession of the throne was used as a parlever. And when the youngster ascended the throne as Maharaj, he was virtually enslaved and imprisoned in a palace, right? So completely under the control of a British resident, residing in a nearby residency and backed up with the British officer garrison force, maintained under a solemn treaty guaranteed to maintain him a British puppet in the catch-22 predicament. So this pattern is used by Manohar Malkonkar, Kamala Markandeya and Geeta Mehta to spin three absorbing as well as educative tales of the offspring of Royal India and to illustrate subverting strategy of the British Empire. Manohar Malkonkar, The Princess, Kamala Markandeya's The Golden Honeycomb and Geeta Mehta's Raj are period novels in which the characters are expository illustration of the period rather than living people. As the Royal Age Edmund defines the types of novel, as such, the royal protagonists of these three novels illustrates the several strategies employed by the colonizing British imperialists to subvert the princelings of India so as to sustain their imperial sway. In Princess, Balraj Abhairaj of Begwad goes through the regular British princely mill, but given his background, the traumatic experience in his early life and the military training he undergoes, cannot be deceived by sophistry and knows that Indian royalty under the British is a golden honeycomb. Given his well-known partiality for the past, both historical and otherwise, Malkonkar keeps his narrative true to the facts of history in illustrating the British templates for the training of Indian princes. However, a staunch nationalist, Malkonkar cannot desist from exposing the British imperialists to ridicule by implying that the British were only encouraging the lantern lethargy and in some cases the venality of the princely tribes of India. So in spite of it all, the protagonist of the princess grew up into a responsible Indian rather than a brown Englishman. In Golden Honeycomb, Maharaj Rabindranath is deliberately kept by his mother Mohini, the royal concubine, and his grandmother Manjula, the Devagad Maharani, out of the clutches of the British resident, and educated by a local pandit. With the result, he grows into a nationalist prince committed to his people, not to a British czarine. It is obvious that Kamala Markandeya deliberately fashioned the Golden Honeycomb as a Bildungsroman to prove efficacy of early upbringing in molding the personality and character individuals. The narrative and the text of a novel carries several hints that is deliberately designed as Bildungsroman, no, Royal Bildungsroman. I'm very particular about this Golden Honeycomb by Kamala Markandeya, an excellent example of Royal Bildungsroman. In Raj, Baisa Jaya does not even qualify for a British treatment, but her father deliberately has her trained in Rajniti and all the skills required by the prince, and these stand her in good stead later in life. All the three novels prove that the royal household of India could have avoided the subversions of their princes if they had wanted to. It is Mehta's intention to show that the native royal tradition and adequately equipped to take good care of the upbringing of royal offsprings, and that's what the British designed and implemented in India, was just an expedient policy solely intended to sustain their imperial sway over a populous country by subverting the rulers, by catching them young, denationalizing them. Maharaj Jai Singh could not prevent the catastrophe in the case of his son Tika, but since his daughter Baisa Jaya is outside the pale of British power, he implements his own native system of royal upbringing in her case and thereby proves the superiority of the native tradition through his daughter. So thus the upbringing of the historical princess prepared them to occupy the throne, and during their role, they drew on learning their adolescent years to rule competently and wisely. So the upbringing of the three fictitious princes, namely the Abhairaj, Rabindranath, and Jaya, helped them to escape being subverted by the British imperialist. But and when India was about to become a sovereign country, to take a democratic role for the welfare of the people. So they have that guts to easily throw away all their imperialistic life, and they happily joined the Indian Congress. All the three, though a fictitious character. Ma'am, do I have more time, or else?
Ma'am?
Shall I proceed? Shall I continue, ma'am, or else?
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to give how this part, this Kamala Markandaya's golden honeycomb.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
As a buildings roman, as a perfect example of buildings roman, just over 5 minutes, 5 to
Yes,
10
yes,
minutes, right? So how this Kamala Markandaya novel, the golden honeycomb, as a buildings roman. So let me justify by my small explanation, a brief explanation. Kamala Markandaya's novel, The Golden Honeycomb, which was published in 1977, is a Bildungs Roman. A Bildungs, we know that a Bildungs Roman is a novel of growth, of formation, and it traces the upbringing and the molding of the personality of the protagonist until he attains maturity, right? So going by this definition, The Golden Honeycomb is a perfect Bildungs Roman. So let me justify. The Golden Honeycomb traces the upbringing and formation of the character and personality of Maharaj Kumar Rabindranath of Indian princely state of Devapur, right? So he is the only son of Maharaj Babaji Raj III, born of Maharaja's concubine Mohini. So the Maharaja has only daughters by the Maharani. So he is very keen in upbringing the Rabindranath, okay? Rabi properly to succeed his throne of Devapur. However, his widowed mother, Maharani Manjula, and his concubine Mohini stoutly resist the idea. They are very determined to bring up Rabi as an Indian, not a brown Englishman. So the Bildungs Roman element of the novel is not incidental in this novel, but the very foundation of the narrative and its conception, right? So Manjula's decision to challenge the British colonial power is deliberate when she was young. When her husband was identified as next Maharaja of Devapur in the place of lawful monarch Babaji Raj I, who was dethroned and incarcerated by the British because he defied them and attempted to levy and to fight against them. So from the day they were enthroned, Manjula suffered the clippings of their feather and their clippings of their freedom as well, and self-respect, and patiently submitted to all these enslavement for the sake of her husband, whom she loved dearly. When she bore a son, she was denied the joy of suckling him. As he grew up, she was a mute witness to his being molded into a brown Englishman and a British puppet. She decides to counterpart through a grandson. So however, her daughter-in-law Maharani Shanta Devi produces only daughters, no son. Then this Maharani Manjula finds her weapon in Mohini, a relation of hers who have come to the palace to serve her in her widowhood. Mohini becomes the concubine of Babaji Raj III. She conceives by him and delivers a boy, heir to the throne of Devapur. She persistently refused to become a wife so that she can remain outside the clutches of the British residence part. She and Manjula carefully chart the upbringing of Rabi. They engage a local pandit to teach him. the reality as distinguished from the fake history that was fed to his father by his English tutor. So here another beautiful element of Bildungs Roman. So they resist all the British residents' attempt to impose a British tutor on Rabi, and all his efforts is to make the boy not a British puppet. So Manjula feeds Rabi's fancy with staring tales of his ancestors, and the walrus exploits against the British. They also allow him to scamper around the servant children in and around the palace. And they took Rabi to a tour. Okay, Rabi sees for himself the poverty of the people, barren stretches of drought, the peasants with protruding rib cages. So after witnessing all these barren stretches of drought, when he returns to the Grand Darbar of Delhi with his father, Rabi wakes up to the reality that his father, the powerful Maharaja of Devapur, is only a minion who dare not show his back to the viceroy. His illusions are shattered, and he becomes a real Indian prince. So returning to Devapur, Rabi becomes pensive and studious. He becomes conscious of his native rights, which is different from the princely heritage that awaits. When Viceroy recognizes him as a heir to the throne of Devapur, he is not greatly excited. Instead, he goes to Devan, a childhood friend, who has many plans for the amelioration and private days of the people. Under the Devan's tutelage, he decides to address himself to the problems of the people of Devapur and devote himself to the cause of the people. So when the First World War starts, Maharaj Babaji Raj hastens to the battlefield to fight for his British army against the Hun in the display of loyalty. But Rabi excuses himself on the grounds that he is not a fighter, that he has more urgent tasks to attend at the home. Discarding the luxury and the pleasure of the palace, Rabi betakes himself to the jungle, and he involves himself in the construction of a dam. So Devapur, and the major endeavor of the people becomes, all the major people, they got surprised by the building of a dam that make water available to the people during the month of summer. So again, the winds of nationalism blow into a Devapur from the neighboring British India. The nationalist cause is spearheaded by Usha, again a daughter of Devan, a good friend of Rabi. So given his planned grooming, Manjula, Mohini and local Pandit, Rabi takes up the nationalist fever, and he walked with the nationalist heroes. Okay, so they launch a non-violent satyagraha against the colonial imposition, particularly against the enhanced tax on salt to increase the revenue in aid to the war effort. So Manjula, Maharaja, back from the military jaunts, faces the popular movement, virtually headed by his popular and a democratic son. He cannot but capitulate. He surrenders his father. So the Bildung's Roman conception of the novel is emphasized by a capsule narrative at the beginning of how Maharaj Babaji Raj III was molded as a British puppet at the hands of British, and how throughout his career he continued to be a most loyal British creature. So the novel teams with pointed dignities of characters molding and personality development and reference to the tutelage and schoolings. A sharp distinction was made between the tutors of Maharaj Babaji Raj III and those of Rabindranath, and the result speaks for themselves. Right? So thus the Golden Honeycomb turns out to be a perfect Bildung's Roman, presenting the bringing up and molding the character of the personality of a prince, namely Maharaj Kumar Rabindranath of Devapur state, and of his son and of his father, Babaji Raj III. So with this, I hope would have some knowledge about the Royal Bildung's Roman. So with this, I'll wind up my lecture.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity given. Yes, I must thank you
Sharing
first.
your valuable knowledge with us.
Thank you. Any doubts you can ask.
Thank you so much for sharing your valuable knowledge with us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Can we move on to the next talk, sir? Suresh, sir.
Thank you, madam,
Thank you, sir.
for
Thank you.
enlightening the participants with your ocean of knowledge. Plenary talk through session will be handed over to Dr. Divyesh Kumar Devendra Prasad Bhatt. He is an assistant professor, Department of English, Mahadev Desai Gram, Gujarat, India. He has served in various boards in various universities and colleges. His areas of specialization are travel literature, Indian English writing. He has received and worked on minor and major projects, and it is his credit. He has contributed to NRC, UGC, HRDC, Gujarat University, launched first of its kind on online refresher course in English as a resource person for the module teaching grammar. It was on air in 2019. He has also organized in several number of seminars, conferences, and workshops, and he has also delivered lectures in national and international conferences. He has also attended training in COMT. That means he was felicitated with the cadre lieutenant. He has worked as associate NCC officer. He has also attended and delivered lectures in NSS camps, in academic tours, and he is also a person who is highly interested in travel literature. He has been also member of Board of Studies in Gujarat Vidyapith and Indian Association for Canadian Studies. I kindly request you, sir, to handle the session and provide and share your ocean of thoughts with the participants. Thank you, sir.
With due respect, I invite Dr. Divesh Kumar Deepat, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Gujarat Vidyapith, Ahmedabad, to talk on Govardhan Ram Tripathi's scrapbook, projection of his intimate self and nationalistic feelings. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Okay,
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon to one and all. Respected galaxy of organizers, two colleges, principals, office bearers of both the institutions, staff members of the Department of English of both the colleges, and respected Dr. Justine Jam sir, Somati ma'am, and all other stakeholders in organizing this two-day international online conference, yes, on exploring new trends on language, literature, and cultural studies. Even I would also like to just greet all the research scholars and all the fraternity of English language and literature. Just before I begin my deliberation, I would like to thank all of the organizers for inviting me and providing me with an opportunity to present a paper, my talk on this Govardhan Ram Tripathi's scrapbook, projection of his intimate self and nationalistic feeling. Before I go, I would like to just share that why I have selected this topic, because it's a study of scrapbook, and I am not going to just present the entire study of the scrapbook, but I'm just focusing on the certain entries just especially of from 25th March 1891 to 28th March 1891. Now the time and space of this entries or this scrapbook entries of Govardhan Ram Tripathi hold great importance so far as we know that during 1890s, British colonial rule has taken, as even Sumati madam has talked about, that is had taken a very well-known grip over the Indian political scenario. Even English education, just thrust by this Macaulay's committee. Yes, it was done, and even the generations, one or two generations of that English study have been out in Indian society. So it becomes very important for us to look into somewhat informal writing. Actually, basically, as we see that this diary or scrapbook writings, yes, uh, they do not conform to the real literary expectations. Yes, yet they still manage to engage the readers in the fashions of narratives. Okay, when you take up a page or entry, yes, you understand that how nicely it communicates. Yes, they do have capacities to arouse empathy and elicit emotional responses from the readers. Yes, and we can say that is a very thin line between the standard literary genre and the scrapbook or diary writing. Yes, still, yes, a well-maintained diary, a well-maintained scrapbook, yes, manages to offer a unique insight into the lives of those we may have otherwise never discovered. Okay, so this diary or scrapbook, yes, and when it is from though as we see that the meters of yes, a question may arise, sorry, a question may arise into our mind that these diaries or scrapbooks, they are the personal documents. A person who writes diary, okay, it is not meant for the any audience, okay, but it is a self conversation, so it can be taken as the personal document. Now, well, what is what good does it serve to follow them? So the answer is as simple as the question that it allows us to have glimpses of the most original reflections and the nature of the social scenario uh, to which the writer of this diary or scrapbook belongs to. Okay, moreover, when it is from any stalwart, okay, when it is from a very good a renowned personality, a thinker, okay, its study makes a greater sense as it provides one with the most intimate conversation of the personality. Yes, in the very opening entry of the second scrapbook, Govardhan Tripathi addresses his scrapbook as the scrapbook, my friend. Okay, and he raises some self queries and asserts the responses. So Govardhan Ram Tripathi's reflections also give us answer to these questions. He says, just I quote Govardhan Ram Tripathi, yes, that he says that is this is my strength and my weakness. Okay, and he's claiming it to be his friend bears great importance, as in a sense through it he is creating a dialogue with history, because he's writing, he's conscious that one day, or today or tomorrow, yes, it is going to, though he's writing personally, but it is going to find a way into the hands of others. Yes, and so it builds a sound document. Yes, it gives us a sound document in historiography and gives us a chance to look at the social conditions of that time, the time and moment of this book, that is 1890s, holds very great importance, since it was a time of Indian society's moment of awakening. Yes, it was, we can say, the phase of Indian Renaissance. That is where Indian culture, Indian society, that Indian generations, people had collected some European education, they had, and which had opened their eyes. So the society was comprised of two or three kind of masses. Yes, so far as there were some Anglophiles, that is those who who appreciated the British rule, and those who were happy that everyone, even a tiny man, a man of even lesser importance in society, was 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 being governed by a constitutional, judicial and legislative way manner, and that mass was happier. Second, there were some orthodox people, those who wanted, just who had their own opinion, that this they are being pounced upon from every nook and corner by this colonial government. And there was a third mass, they were very indifferent, they had nothing to do with all these things. So uh, but somehow, somewhere, there were some nationalistic consciousness was emergent, that was visible on the surface. Yes, and all startup social classes were gaining and gathering their mass to oppose the tyranny of British rule, and just uh, towards their common goal of attainment of Swaraj. This is back in 1890s. I am talking about. See, actually, this was a time, that is Indian society was feeling that we are being oppressed by the British rule. Okay, and this kind of awareness was there. And this diary, this scrapbook, gives us some glimpses into that, the operative comments on this thing, all these things and reflections. That is how. And I have taken certain entries of 25th March to 28th March, 3 to 4 days entries, that is day-to-day entries are there, and they all just are um, just are concentrating, are focusing on one social issue. Yes, and that was the consent age bill of 1891. Okay, but before that, I would like to just introduce this Govardhan Ram Tripathi. Yes, he was a Gujarati stalwart writer. His name is written in golden letters in the history of Gujarati literature, as well as Gujarati history of Gujarat. He was a lawyer by profession. He was a novelist, poet, literary critic, literary historian, and a person with progressive mind or a rationalistic bent of mind. Yes, Govardhan Tripathi has written one important novel, a river novel, I would call it. It is Saraswati Chandra. Yes, and it is considered, as it has been rendered into almost all Indian languages. It has been translated into English also. Its abridged version is also available, because it is a novel in 3 to 4 volumes. Okay, it's a voluminous novel, and the novel is considered, this Saraswati Chandra novel is considered to be a most important social document, that is, which captures the glimpses of Gujarat society. Yes, and social customs, even this widow, the problem of almost all problems of Gujarati society of that time has been captured and reflected in this novel. Okay, so just I would like to go through his. He was this basically Tripathi. Mr. Tripathi is a progressive minded personality, and though he is progressive, okay, though he feels that it is good and it is better that this British government is doing well and all these things, but he is brave enough to express his ideas, and his scrapbook is and his literary outpouring is an example of it. Okay, so his entries are just which I have selected that are focused on the age of consent act of 1891. Yes, and it is also known as Act of 1891 was a legislation incited in the British India on 19th of March 1891. The act created great public clamor, yes, and debate as it dealt with the raising of the age of consent for sexual intercourse for all girls, married or unmarried, from 10 to 12 years. Okay, so the age of consent was raised from 10 to 12. Actually, Indian, so far as Gujarati, as far as Gujarati and Indian that Orthodox convention holds it, that back at that time, yes, that all the girls, that any girl who observes her first menstrual cycle, she must be married off. Yes, that was the Indian Orthodox condition, and British legislation, yes, brought that is no, the girl should be the marriageable age should be the 12. Yes, and this created great clamor and debate among the Indian circle, Indian society. The bill was introduced in the Legislative Council by Sir Andrew Scobell, and it was strongly opposed by many on the grounds that by the way of this kind of ruling, the legislation tries to interfere with the Hindu Orthodox conventions and thus intervenes with the right of personal faith in the traditionally held conventions, whereas the Indian reformists supported it as the early marriage created havoc in the lives of many young Hindu girl brides. Actually, the entire matter came in the light with the case of Bombay High Court of a child bride, Rukma Bai, and another case of an 11-year-old and forceful intercourse of her 35-year-old husband in 1889. Yes, so these two incidents were, according to the reformists of India, yes, required immediate intervention of the legislation to prevent the repetition of this kind of incidents. Now, Mr. Tripathi digs his heel on this matter in the entries for 25th March to 28th March 1891, and thus his reaction and the discussion is instant and immediate. Yes, his entries maintain a balanced opinion. Okay, and he, on the first ground, that is according to him, ideally, and on the reformative measures, the shift of consent age from 10 to 12 is a welcome step, yes, which in the course of time might help create a healthy race and society. Yes, his point of objection then is that of the procedure through which the bill was flawed in the legislation. He firmly opines that the bill has been brought only by working on purely theoretical measures, yes, which altogether neglects the real social reality and reality-based surveys which might create a real picture of social notes, requirements, needs, and expectations. Okay, he notes, yes, he notes in his diary that I quote, the bill is now passed. Yes, on 25th of March, he notes this down, that the bill is now passed. I felt unusually excited about the matter, both before and after this passing. Firstly, because the members of Legislative Council who discussed the bill seemed each and all to move the matter upon pure sentiment and upon merely theoretical grounds, not at all scientific or sound. Secondly, because that councils seem to work rather upon pressure brought to bear upon them by people in England than upon their own sincere convictions, as was clear from the cool, self-controlled speech of Lord Lansdowne at the first reading, which showed that the measure was a compromise to meet his audacious proposals, which that's Behram Malbari, yes, had managed to thrust upon them through the Secretary of State and other English influences. Thirdly, because the procedure adopted in order to make a prima facie case for the bill was most perfunctory, so far as the public or I could see it, no sufficient evidence being shown to have been collected for the purpose, matters being assumed and merely presumed rather than proved. Fourthly, because with equal audacity, it was asserted that the measure was undertaken simply to educate the people and it was likely to prove a day later. Okay, so Malbari's mind and opinion soar upon this clear logical ground. He examines both the sides. On one hand, there are those that is those who are supporters of this. That is, he talks about those who support it and those who oppose it. Okay, and in that is those who support. That is those who are the Bombay-based elite Anglophiles and those educated people. That is, and on the other hand, there were some rustic, conventional, orthodox people. Okay, and both the sides, yes, he pities both the sides. Okay, and presents his logical arguments. See, that bill has been explored and passed, whereas the other hand, countryside orthodox people who think by doing this, the British administrations were pouncing upon their personal matters. Tripathi pities both the sides and stresses the need of real groundwork and the exercise before touching this kind of matters, because laws thus constructed on mere idealistic measure, he says, that is, are going to prove just only dead later. Yes, and secondly, commenting upon the practical aspects and its real ground impact on the people, and as being a lawyer, its legal implications clearly stand before his eyes, and therefore in very next paragraph of the entry he notes that the council, I quote, the council ignored the universally accepted principle of legislative morality, okay, and which they seem to take into no account. Yes, no case seemed to arise for passing such an act, especially in the face of strong and universal disapprobation by the masses and in spite of the evil consequences which the act will work upon individual family from a social viewpoint, and upon the girl whose husband will be sent to jail in order to protect her. Now see, so it was said that these consequences were not likely because the act would be a dead letter. So he nicely comments and sees the possibilities and results and far-reaching results of these things. Yes, and therefore he predicts that this bill will do only one good, that of increasing the bribery and corruption. Yes, unquote. Yes, and therefore his practical aspect and ultimate whole scenario of social reality, ground reality, is visible from his comments and his entries regarding certain a burning social topic, and therefore this study of this scrapbook becomes very much important. Okay, then in his entry, just I go further. Entry on 28th March 1891, yes, under the title of Forming Temporary Opinions, Tripathi furthers the same meditation about the bill. He's now here. He presents that is his friends and colleagues want him to form opinions. Some believe that Tripathi is in support of them, or support of this bill, or some feel that Tripathi is just against this, and he does not like this kind of intervention of British legislation on the Hindu personal life. Okay, so at this also he nicely notes that as regards the matter, I quote, as regards the matter of my opinion in this matter, I have no time or desire to form or draw any whole opinion. Yes, because as we know, friends, yes, unquote, yes, as we know that uh, he is making any or commenting over this, that was not going to make any difference so far as, but he presents the social implications regarding this. And as um, as per he says, he takes a stand also, that is on the grounds that this was the pouncing upon, it was an attack on the personal belief and religious conventions. Okay, he says that is it is that is he says that it is that is he says that uh, he holds that if even in the religious practices, if the minors and vulnerable masses are to receive any damage, like the good guardian, the government administrations have full right to intervene into the matters and safeguard the interests of the weaker sections of the society. So from these entries, we understand that how how consciously he thinks and how social ripples were creating were being created through this kind of British legislative actions or passing of act. Okay, finally, in conclusion, he makes his concludes that is concluding notes that actually it was this kind of bill was not going to stop these kind of practices, because India was not at that time, even till today, India is not the just only the urban, because India has two faces, urban face and rural face, and both the social setups have different operations, even though that is the urban masses have been created from the migrated rural masses. Secondly, on another entry of 29th March 1891, yes, he discusses about that is how to serve, how one should serve the nation. Yes, and in this entry too, yes, he presents so many examples. He even says that my mundane duty to my country, yes, focuses on that is education of society, yes, eradication of superstitions and all the superstitious conventions, yes, eradication of mass, that is discrimination to certain masses. And he clearly notes, yes, even by citing the example of the war of CPO and Hannibal, yes, that is, it is not the day that you need to just go and fight for your nation. That is, that violence is not the way of freedom. Actually, once you get educated, you get united, yes, and you study, and regeneration and strength of social, physical and intellectual, moral and political matters, the gathering strength on this front, that will lead our nation towards the liberty, liberation and freedom. So overall, we can say that is the study of this scrapbook gives us clear-cut glimpses into the Govardhan Tripathi's in-depth study of literature, as well as his social concerns and his reflections. Yes, and his reaction to even certain matters which requires, even his scrapbook, if you study it, it has been published in 3 to 4 volumes. Okay, and every entry, yes, just leads towards his conscious thinking regarding the nation building. Okay, so here I just complete with my thought, and time is okay, and it's just this is all what I wanted to just deliberate on this topic. Thank you very much. Over to you, organizers.
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am.
So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So may I now call upon Mr. Sendil Kumar to propose the vote of thanks? Are you there, sir?
I am very happy to give vote of thanks. First, I would like to thank Dr. S. Brace, my friend and colleague, Assembly of English, Vivekananda College, who gave the introductions of chief guest. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Justin James, e-learning coordinator, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, NISWA, Sultanate of Oman. Thank you, sir. So you gave us a wonderful lectures regarding the ELT, writing styles, techniques, and everything. Really, it will help the scholars and the students. Next, I would like to thank to Dr. S. Sumadi, Assistant Professor of English, Kongunadu Arts and Science College, Coimbatore. So, madam, you gave so wonderful lectures regarding Indian English novelist. And most of the scholars, they focus only the Western writers and the African writers and the American writers. The very few scholars, they concentrate on Indian English fictions. Really, the scholars so your speech really will help the scholars. Thank you, madam. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Divyeskumar Deba, Assistant Professor of Department of English in Gujarat, Vidyabad, Ahmedabad. Sir, you gave some wonderful lectures regarding Govardhanam's Tribadi's scabooks, projections of his intimate self and nationalistic feelings. It's really a wonderful lecture, sir. Really it will help the scholars and the audience. Thank you. I thank once again. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sumati ma'am. Thank you, Bhatt sir. Thank you, Justin sir. Thank you, all the participants. We now move on to the technical session, which will be beginning by 2:30. I request all the participants to go to the link provided in that your session. Your chairperson and the session head will guide you. The presentation schedule, which we have posted in the WhatsApp group, there is a link for each session. You can click that and you can join the presentation by 2:30. Smriti ma'am.
Yeah, and dear ma'am, a very good afternoon. And then we will just resume the session as you mentioned by 2:30, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The session head will, yes, ma'am.
On behalf of our college and the staff members, research scholars and students, I just thank all the resource persons who have extended their scintillating and very informative talk on the respective topic, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. You please proceed, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am, can we leave the meeting now and resume by 2:30, ma'am?
Yeah, yeah, ma'am, with
Only
pleasure.
one session, session 5 will be in Zoom, ma'am. All other sessions are in Google Meet, ma'am. So
I
we have
don't,
given,
ma'am, if you don't mind, will you please repeat it?
ma'am, the session 5 is in this particular ID, ma'am, Zoom ID, Zoom link.
Okay.
All other sessions will be through Google Meet and the link is posted in the schedule, ma'am.
Okay, okay. And then there is a change in the chairperson, no, ma'am. Instead of Sujata, ma'am, myself will be.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. The link will
carrying
be
the
sent to you
session, no, ma'am?
personally, ma'am, by the session in charge.
Okay, will you be sending the link to me, ma'am, personally?
Yes,
to me?
ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. She will contact you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. I take leave of you, ma'am. Thank
Okay.
you.
We'll leave the meeting, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.